Только classes. No, she has registered. She has not called me.
Hello. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your camera is not well positioned. We don't really see your face. So you have to move your camera a bit higher or lower. Because this is what the name. Okay. Your camera is not well positioned.
Is it now?
Move your camera a bit because we don't see your face.
Oh.
Put a bit higher. Now we see your face still. Oh.
Can you see it now? Okay.
Now
it's my pleasure.
Now,
okay.
the clicker from Alger, I wrote you in the chat. I can see you. I have hear me, but I don't hear you. And you want to make a try, has to put the microphone on gray. Put it red on mute when you don't talk, so that we don't hear noise. But whenever you want to talk, just put it on. By clicking on it, click on the mic, and it's gray. Okay. Can you hear me properly? Yes? And you try this microphone? Hello.
Okay, this is Chinyere from Nigeria.
Yes,
okay.
Very well. Thank you.
Okay.
I just missed the office from Alger. The colleague from Alger.
Hi, hear me? It's
Rebecca. Hi. Your name is Neteyi.
No. Indeed, I'm Pretoria.
Pretoria, welcome. From the car we have, who do we have car?
Sophia.
Okay. Now I see you. Welcome.
This is you from the Algiers office. Hello.
Hello. Well, we have people again. We were just saying that normally we don't have so many people. We are very glad about it. We're very happy. In the previous webinar, we had more people than the ones that we could host, because actually this webinar allowed for 25 people. So what's more in the previous one, the one for Asia and Arab states. I guess that in this one as well, we have around 25, because I can see a long list of names, which is very good. We work on our license and ensure that we can host more people in the future webinars. Okay, remember the shift connected now. Great. We have a but we have one here. Okay. So 58, I guess we can start. Let me start. Speak now. Okay. No, this is eyebrow piece. And the microphone, everyone can hear me?
Yes, we can hear. I can hear you very well, Monica.
Good. Very good. So, I start. So let me introduce myself. My name is Monica Lisa. I work in Delta, which is a unit in the Turing Center. The Turing Center is the training arm of the ILO. I guess many of you already know our center, but for those who have never come, this is a campus where we deliver training. So we participate a lot on the development cooperation project of the ILO in terms of capacity building, and unit in particular deals with training and learning methodologies and technologies. This is why we are hosting these webinars and we are facilitating them, although we have experts from Geneva and from other offices like today who are actually the content facilitators of the meeting. As I said before, in this meeting we are having many participants. There are around between 10 and 25 people today. We ran a previous webinar 1 hour ago with the colleagues from Asia and Arab states, and the topic was exactly the same, partnering with the European Commission and going to see what this means in terms of learning objective for the webinar. And we're going to have another webinar with the same thematic in the afternoon with America and Europe. Before I start with the objective and the questions of the webinar, I just would like to clarify some issues related to webinar in terms of instructions. So I have already said that, but please, if you want to talk and you talk any moment, you can participate. On the contrary, you are welcome to participate as much as you can. Just put your microphone on Ray. Keep it on mute on Brad. If you are not talking, but whenever you want to talk, please put on Ray, and also you can click on your camera so we can see your face. It would also be nice if you can briefly introduce yourself whenever you have a question. Now, you can also write on the chat. Just make sure you select the receiver, because if it is, it normally goes on everyone. If it's on everyone reads the message. But if you want to talk to me directly or to one of the experts, you have to select the name of the person. The webinar is going to be recorded. We'll receive a link afterward with whatever we say, with the presentation, with questions that came out. Also, you will find the materials, the resources that are mentioned will be sent either by the content expert, or you will find them in the development cooperation page, the project page. Are there any questions? Any need clarification? No? Okay. So we have two experts that are leading this webinar, Lilia Rosses from Geneva and Aude Lequevel from ILO Brussels. So they will guide us throughout the topic of webinar, which is partnering with the European Union, which means understanding further how to work with the European Union, particularly in terms of funding, programming, and funding modalities. So we will receive guidance on European Commission cooperation and contracting modality. Basically, there are 4 parts of this webinar. One is a general introduction to the topic that we will see, particularly in terms of the relationship between ILO and the European Commission. Then we will have a look at the funding instruments. That would be the second part. Then the programming modalities, and finally, how to mobilize European Union resources. So those are the 4 components. We will go through these 4 components with a PowerPoint, with a very clear presentation that was prepared by our expert. So Audrey and Liliana, if you like, you can start sharing the screen so everyone can see presentation. Let's see the slide.
I can see the first page.
Okay.
I can see it as well.
Okay, good, fantastic. Liliana, you want to start, or Audrey? Maybe it's Audrey that will take over for the definition of components.
Yes, thank you very much, Monica.
Well,
Just to start,
this is Liliana. Can you briefly introduce you, Liliana?
Exactly. So I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Liliana Rosses. I'm working in the Partnership and Field Support Department, and I'm providing support with the European Commission portfolio since June last year, and in parallel, I also cover the collaboration for development cooperation for the World Bank funding. Maybe Audrey, you want to introduce yourself, and we can start with the first overview.
Sure. Hi, good morning, everyone. Audrey Leguevel from ILO Brussels. Welcome to this webinar. And well, the idea of the webinar is really to provide you with concrete information so as to facilitate your contact with the European Commission. In general, very broadly, we see for the moment very good opportunities to collaborate further with the EC. I mean, in terms of general background, the European Commission recognizes the SDG agenda and has step by step integrated it into its programming. And looking more concretely at the priorities of the EC, they most of the time open good ways of cooperation for the EU. If I mentioned the migration and refugee crisis, or the youth employment, or fragile states and crisis countries response, all are issues on which I'm sure you're working every day, and these issues have our keen interest of the EC. So there is definitely a way, at least, to discuss with them and find issues on which to talk. So looking more specifically to the first slide, so we wanted to give you a snapshot of the EC ILO relationship. So it was initiated in 2001 with an exchange of letter. The exchange of letter was very broad, very general, just the commitment to cooperating together. In 2003, the ILO adheres to the EC-UN FAFA. The FAFA is the Financial Administrative Framework Agreement between the EC and the UN, and the ILO joined it as part of the UN in 2003. This facilitated greatly the cooperation by offering a common framework on which we could base our contracting. So these are a set of contracting modalities as they are agreed by the UN. The ILO can feel a little bit comfortable in it. In 2004, we signed an EC-ILO strategic partnership. This is based on the exchange of letter, but we thought it would be necessary to define some areas of cooperation, and areas of cooperation were further defined in the renewal done in 2011, where we thought that it would be necessary somehow to update a little bit the areas on which we were cooperating. So this is pretty much what defines the EC-ILO relationship. If I focus more on the EC way of shaping its policies and development cooperation strategies, the overall framework is the Agenda for Change. The Agenda for Change has been set and defined for the multi-annual period in which we are currently operating, which is a 7-year period, 2014-2020. The Agenda for Change was very important in defining the development policy, and through this document decided or indicated some wishes to increase the impact and the effectiveness of its policies through certain principles, being first of all the differentiation. Countries that need it more would receive more countries. The concentration from now on, the development cooperation of the EC would focus on 3 major areas of work in each of the countries. So it's stopping really focusing, but being more focused. The coordination, trying to be more coordinated with the member states. I mean, that can still be improved, but there is an attempt and a willingness, at least, to do it. And it's in the sense that the EC wanted to make sure that one program would not harm the objective of another one. So the right hand knowing what the left hand is doing a little bit. So this is the Agenda for Change. And last year, there was a new consensus for development which was issued. The new consensus is on the principle of the Agenda for Change, the EU response to the integration of the SDG agenda. So this is a document shaping the common vision from the EU and member states on the integration and the implementation of the SDGs. back of at the bottom of the slide, you will see the list of communication, a list of documents. In fact, what is good with DEC is that all programming is very transparent. Everything can be found online, and everything is you can consult everything. So the new consensus, the agenda for change are very broad. If you look at certain themes, then you will find communications. This is the word they use for it. Communication focusing on special issues. So one social protection. There is one on human rights. There was one issued last year on trade, which is of pertinence for the ILO in the monitoring and in the implementation of core labor standards within trade agreements. And then on job rich recovery, which is focusing on EU internally only and not externally, but which is important internally. So that is shaping the framing of the EU, and all that is reflected also into what we call the ILO annual high-level meetings, which is an annual meeting. The institution meet in Geneva or in Brussels, look at what has happened in the year that just passed, and if everything that was planned has been implemented, and looking also at the future and the coming year and defining priorities for the coming year. Something recently happened in January, and the conclusions can be available. They're online, or they will soon be online, but they will be sent to you also at the end of this webinar. We can count of our counterparts. So this is really for you to know with whom we're working and to see with whom you can discuss also at the country level. So basically, the EU is organized as any country would be organized with its ministries. They have Ministry of Employment, which is the equivalent of. They have a Directorate General on Employment, which is the equivalent of a Ministry of Employment, and this is ILO main entry point. They have also DG Home, looking at migration and home affairs, DG NEAR, which is a specificity for the EU, looking at their European neighborhood policy and the discussions they have on the enlargement countries, looking also at the north of Africa, Maghreb, Mashrek. And they have DG Environment and DG Trade, which are entry point for the ILO. In terms of the development cooperation, this is shaped by the External Action Service, which we may see at the very top on the right, which is the equivalent of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It shapes the development policies, and the implementation is given to DG DEFCO, which is the implementing arm, like AFD would be in France, compared to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So this is a little bit how it is organized. Then this is really reflected at the country level in the delegations that are in more than 140 countries of the world. So I'm sure that you've been in contact with the colleagues in the delegation. They do not all represent all the different DGs. The staff will be appointed depending on the focus sector that they have selected. In terms of the colors, the different colors that have been used, ILO works with the one in orange. We wish to work with the one in green, because we haven't been cooperating with them yet, but we see possibilities for cooperation, notably with DG ECHO looking at humanitarian action. The ILO could be working with them, and we need to really showcase what we can do so that cooperation can be initiated with them. For the other DGs, they're in the one in blue. We're necessarily working with them in certain cases because they look at internal issues or functioning issues like DG budget. In other cases because they are really not linked to our mandate. So let's carry on.
Just like okay.
Okay, thanks. In terms of the thematic areas, so these are the thematic areas that are defined during the high-level meeting. The one in black were the ones on which we were operating in the past. So the one on which we had decided, the two institutions had decided to cooperate and to have concrete actions. Concrete can be, it can be policy dialogue, it can be development cooperation, depending really on the topic and depending on the interest of the two institutions. And this year we added within the high-level meeting the subjects in red. So there will be further cooperation on social protection, which I'm pretty sure will have implications for Africa, because we'll be selected in Africa, hopefully. Decent work on global supply chain, of course, following the discussion at the ILC. Migration, we had it also the need to focus on the refugee crisis, and maritime and fishing issues have become of interest to the two institutions. So I leave it to here for the moment. Liana?
Maybe just to check before we move ahead with the other component of the webinar. Are there any questions from the participants? Any need for clarification to this introduction?
Hi, my name is Sianda from ILO-EC Victoria.
Could you put on your camera so we see your face?
Oh, you guys can't see me?
No, just click your camera, okay? Really? Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, we see your screen, but it's okay, no problem.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for tonight info around institutional arrangements. I know that in South Africa there is an ILO. That means that we need to start the relationship with them using the exchange letters that we have done on delivery that I had already or when it's allocated.
Louder, please.
I personally didn't. I'm not sure about the expert. Can you repeat it? Because the tone was very down, very low.
Come a little bit close. I'm saying, how do we, the first engagement that we'll have with EU, does it also need to follow the criteria or the format you guys follow, the exchange of letters that happened in 2001, or do we leverage on the already existing relationship at top United country level? How do we get to engage them and build this relationship?
Okay. I'm sure it's going to be covered later as well, but I hand over to Audrey to give you a first answer on this. Audrey? Liliana, did you get the question?
Oh, no. Yeah, as you were saying, we were going to cover a bit more in detail how can we engage at different levels depending on the funding instruments and the relationships that the EC has with different countries, part countries. So maybe we can cover this in the remaining sessions and we come back with specific questions. Maybe
clarification, we can also say that what we have seen so far is kind of an historical background that shows us what happened before until today. And the realities of how to partner with the European Commission will be explained in details later on, particularly in the programming phase, in the third component of the webinar. Okay, so Liliana, I'll share your presentation now. I'm afraid we lost Audrey, but let's try to go ahead and then we'll see if she can join again. Okay?
Okay.
Just a second. Okay, so we are going to talk now about the EU funding instruments and this differentiation between external and internal. Please, Liliana.
Okay, thank you very much, Monica.
Well,
the European Commission is working on development cooperation with around 160 countries in the world. Its primary objective is the eradication of poverty, and as Audrey was explaining before, the main core document that is guiding EU policies is the Agenda for Change. I think that from a fundraising point of view, it's useful to distinguish between these internal and external financial instruments, because depending on their geographic coverage or priorities, the access modalities differ substantially. For some of these instruments, the key entry point is going to be more based at the EU delegation level, for others at the Brussels level, for others that are, it comes through member states or partner countries. Important to keep in mind of within these instruments is that it's very important to have interaction at both levels, both at the country and Brussels level, keep informed colleagues in Brussels and also in the field. And it's also important to note that with the consultation process from the European Commission, 70% of the funding is actually now sitting at the country level, available with the EU delegations. If we can maybe go to the next slide, please. So among the external instruments, we have geographic and thematic instruments. Geographic instruments are specific to a region or a country, and they have focus on the needs that are discussed at the regional country level. Thematic instruments, they have a thematic focus, can be like human rights, stability and conflict prevention, or other issues of global importance. They are not limited to a specific country or region, and some of them are applicable for other countries. The different geographic funding instruments, there are some of them that are more relevant than others for colleagues in the African region, notably those that fall under the European Development Fund. This fund is covering 79 countries, including African countries, the Caribbean and the Pacific. Its aim is to stimulate economic development and social and human development in these regions. And the access in consultation with the European Commission at the Brussels level, and in a strong consultation and dialogue with the ACP Secretariat. Some funds are also available at the EU delegation level. Among the other geographic instruments, the one that is also that can also be important for you is the DCI geographic instrument, the Development Cooperation Instrument that is covering South Africa. In the thematic instrument, the European Instrument for Democracy and Human Rights has a global reach, and third countries can be covered by this instrument. It aims at increasing protection of human rights and support democratic processes, and also development of civil societies and the protection of vulnerable groups such as minorities, women, LGBT, indigenous people. Just as a note of formation, we are going to start implementation of one large project on indigenous people funded under this instrument. Broadly, there are access in consultation with the European Commission in Brussels programming, and as well as at the national level, and also calls for proposals under these instruments are issued every now and then. Under the thematic instruments, it's also relevant to keep in mind the instruments contributing to stability and peace, which also has a global reach, and it helps to respond to crises and with a stable environment. It also be accessed through consultation with Brussels and at the EU delegations level. Within the thematic instruments, the Pan-African program is a key one, of course, for the region. And if we can go, please, to the next slide.
Internal instruments.
Yeah, internal instruments we will not cover in these presentations because they are more focused on European member states. But if you go to the next slide.
Well, just 1 second, it's a bit slow. Okay, we started the programming side, and maybe we can just check if there are questions on the instruments. Any clarification so far? Is it all clear? Okay, so let's go ahead with the programming, which is probably related to the question that was raised before.
Yes. Monica, just before programming, because there's a slide that moved to an earlier section on the different trust funds that are available. There. Perfect. Thank you.
Well,
So these three trust funds are very relevant for the region. We have been collaborating in several countries, notably with the European Emergency Trust Fund for Africa, Ethiopia, countries in the IGAT region that are, for which we're going to start a project soon on the field of migration. These three funds are quite different in terms of the scope, objectives, and funding, but we'll be, of course, happy to pursue funding opportunities with colleagues in the region. And we can go back to Audrey to programming.
okay. So let the floor to Audrey. We have to check if she manages to come back. Audrey, are you connected? She's connected. Let me see. Escribirla. And Audrey anymore? Ah, yes, she's there. Audrey? Hi, let's go ahead with the programming component, the programming cycle. With you.
She had the mic turned on.
Yes. Audrey?
Hear me?
Yes, perfect. Now
Okay.
it's fine. Good.
Okay, sorry
So
that I had
that's
to
okay.
interrupt. Okay, coming back to the question, I mean the conclusions of the high-level meeting have to be read because it's a good indication of the dialogue we have with them, and it's also a good entry point if it serves your interest. If, for example, there is a clear indication in the conclusions of the ILO meeting, there will be work on a certain areas that is of interest to you, then you can use that as an entry point to contact the delegation. Fortunately, this year the focus was not really on regions, but more on themes. So I mean, you won't find any good wording on Africa, but you will find that on migration and refugees there is a keen interest in cooperating on many different issues, on youth employment and so on. So don't look for Africa, but look for themes. Coming back to the programming cycle, the programming cycle, we thought it would be interesting for you to be aware of this programming, not because it's of great interest to you, but just because it gives you an idea of how it is done and when you can interact with the EU. Because when you understand that, you know how to be better responsive to their needs. So again, the EU works in cycle of 7 years. So there is a financial regulation for an instrument, as was described by Liliana, that is issued for the 7 years period, and then it lands at country level, if I may say, with national indicative programs that are taken also for the multi-annual programming, and which really further define what has to be done during the 7 years at the country level. And then it is made more concrete and more touchable with the annual action program, which are in fact the real programs, the projects that will be implemented for the year to meet the objectives of the national indicative programs. So this 7-year period, and it's 2 periods of 4 years and then 3 years, and now for the moment, exactly now, we are entering into the midterm evaluation. So this is a good moment also because in certain cases the EC work with certain partners and they may want, for whatever reason, to change their partners. We the partners, then it's a good moment also to check if they're happy, they're satisfied, and if the programming, if the cooperation can go on. So important and interesting to be in touch with them at this evaluation time. We can carry on in terms of the programming. Then it is defined into thematic, so programming done on certain themes and geographic instruments. So geographic instruments, they were described by Liliana. Again, they are there for 7 years, and then they are defined into national programming or regional programming. The difference between the two is national covers one country and is defined at the country level. So it's really the delegation being in the lead in the definition of what needs to be done. The regional programming is done in Brussels and will cover, by definition, several countries. So if you have projects that want to focus on a region or working with certain recs in certain regions, then you may want to be in touch with me so that we can contact Brussels and see if that fits their priorities. The program, the thematic for the thematic instruments, it's the following slide, and it's the same. So it's for 7 years and then defined annually with multi-annual programs. So again, here the program is done at Brussels level. But it's always good for us to be in contact, because if for example, at Brussels level, we decide that the thematic instruments, 2-3 countries of Africa needs to be covered, there is absolutely no chance that the countries won't be consulted. So you need to be in touch with the delegation to make sure that they are aware of this program, that they know the need to work, and that they agree with the need to work with ILO. Because otherwise, if the programming at Brussels level and at the delegation level is not in conformity, this can create difficulties. So it's good that when you get in touch with the delegation, we do it. I do it from Brussels side, or Liliana, and you do it at delegations, and that we keep in touch. Now, in terms of the annual programming, so once the multi-annual indicative program is done, it really comes into defining the concrete project that will have to be done during the year. So start the first phase of identification. For example, if the delegation is looking at women empowerment, women economic empowerment, they will start the identification thinking, okay, we may work with ILO, we may work with UN Women, and we'll contact possible partner. They may also have the priority, but not think about the ILO. So it's good to re-indicate what we're capable of doing and showcasing all the areas of work that we're covering. When this identification is done, then comes the formulation. So they will basically draft a note saying, this is the objectives we have, this is what we believe should be done, and we've discussed with UN Women and ILO, and we would like this partner for implementation. This is presented to the college. If the college agrees, then it's translated into a financing decision, meaning the money is attached to it. It's no longer an idea, it's an idea with money, so it's it's a good thing. There is the financial commitment and time of drafting the action fiche. In certain cases, the delegation will do it on its own. In other cases, they like the ILO to input into the action fiche, and we really like that because it's the best way to make sure that we can draft it in a way that we can implement it correctly at the end and with the right management mode as well. This is the way it is. This is important because for you, again, this cycle, just to show that the earlier you enter in contact with the delegation, the better it is, or the easier it is to be part of this process. If you come at the time of the action stage, they will say, fine, you're great, you're the ILO, we love you, but too late. We may work with you another time. If you come at the identification level, then they may be really interested in working with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any question? The colleague from Pretoria, do you have now the answer you were looking for, or is there anything you'd like to know more in the program?
I think she has answered me. I just have additional two questions. Is the national program, which is a 7-year plan, reviewed annually, or we wait up until the midterm evaluation, then can you introduce new programs and projects? The second one is around the funding windows. Do they open throughout that 7-year period, or is it once-off when they start? For example, they start in 2014 and then they open again in 2021 for a new funding window.
Regulation on the regional programs and its evaluation. Regional programs, they have their own life. So if the ILO is in charge of a regional program covering 1 or 2 regions, if it has a 3-year duration, then it will wait until the end of it. What is being reviewed for the moment is really the broad instrument, financing instrument, and the EC wants to know if they are on track in the implementation of this instrument or not. So if you have a concrete project on which you're currently working, then you have to wait for its evaluation. If it's on the instrument, it's happening now. There will be a review of the evaluation, and I think that it's a good way to enter into contact. In this case, since it's the regions, having a discussion also with the RECs could be of interest, because they will be consulted in the process as well. Then they will have a great say in the way the evaluation is led and in the recommendation that will be done. In terms of the allocation of the funds, there is a pot of money which is divided in seven years, and each year there are allocations. And for example, when the ILO signs a program on 2017, it's using the pot of 2017, but the money can be used 2017, 18, 19. Normally it's 3 years duration, the project, most of the time. So, I mean, 3 points we have every year, because every year there will be a new pot of money, if I may say. And then the project can run for several years. We have to dialogue with DC every year to see what they have in their planning. And in fact, to be precise, the planning of 2017 is done in 2016, so it's for the following year. And the planning of the EC is a little bit like the ILO, so it takes time and with a lot of consultation.
Thank you, Audrey. We go ahead with the mobilizing component, or because we still have 20 minutes. So let's go through it, and then we'll see if there are other questions. Lilia, would you like to take over?
Yes, thank you, Monica.
Well,
we thought it could be a good idea to summarize the different entry points in the program cycle for the ILO to start partnering and mobilizing resources with the European Commission. So in the slide we have here, you can see where it's relevant for the ILO either to advocate, to be important and relevant for the EU programming, or in which stages it's a good idea to share inputs, technical advice, data, statistics, ideas on our programs, our strategies, to find alignments and synergies, and also to provide collaboration on the elaboration of the programs that the EC is developing in the ground. If we can go to the next slide, please. Overall, the European Commission has 3 ways of allocating funding to each partner, and funds can be accessed either through the EU delegation at the country level, from the European Commission at the Brussels level, or through national member states. If we can go to the next. It is important to keep in mind of this is the funding is received through the EU delegations or the European Commission at the Brussels level. It's the UNEC Financial Administrative Framework Agreement that would apply, which facilitates all these contracting matters. between the UN and the European Commission. Funding in general can be, as you were explaining, accessed directly by direct negotiation or through competitive bidding. And we'll have a guidance, internal guidance document that also provides links to the different platforms for competitive bidding for colleagues in the field. If we can go to the next, please.
The second, we got stuck. 1 second. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay.
So the European Commission has 3 ways of managing its programs and projects. We have either direct management, in which the European Commission is in charge of all the budget implementation tasks and in the performance directly, by its departments in headquarters Brussels or its EU delegations or other European executive agencies. In those cases, is the EC or the European executive agencies the contracting authority that is implementing the project and eventually working with the ILO. And there is also the indirect modalities through which the European Commission will entrust the budget implementation to either partner countries, international organizations, including the UN, other development agencies from EU member states, which is a trend that we see increasingly. The European Commission implementing more funds through its development, through its EU members' development agencies. Third, management, which is the situation in which the European Commission delegates implementation of tasks to its new EU member states. We go to the next.
Yes. 1 second.
These different management modes. So if we take a look at the indirect management, the ILO in that case can directly negotiate an agreement with the European Commission, and for indirect management we will be falling into the delegation agreement type of funding modality. For this type of delegation agreements are used when the action that the ILO is implementing involves entrustment of tasks, meaning either service contracts or implementation agreements or grants to other partners that would contribute to the implementation of the action. For the grant agreement, which would be the direct management, it applies for actions and projects in which the activities are implemented directly by ILO staff, like studies or technical assistance or advisory services. This very type of agreement applies also for those occasions in which the funding has been granted to the ILO through a competitive bidding process. A current template in place for collaboration with the European Commission is the Pillar Access Grants or Delegation Agreement version 2 these days. This is basically a template that has been developed and designed for entities that have passed the EU pillar assessment. What is important to retain is that the ILO has been a pillar assess institution that has been validated by the European Commission. And this new template is in place since June last year, and it facilitates, if you take a look at the next slide, please. It's for those colleagues that have been using the previous template, the new template, it facilitates our cooperation at a contractual level, design level, and also financially. And if we can go to the next slide, please. To summarize and keep in mind some recommendations, it's important to maintain a good relationship with the European Commission at a country level to facilitate the information that they have on planning and also to identify the priorities in their programming in which the ILO and the EC could collaborate together. It's really key, as Audrey was mentioning, to have a good sense of the European Commission in terms of planning in this 2014-2020 period. And it's very important to maintain a policy dialogue, also country level, that can lead to concrete development cooperation. And to do so, it's also very key to maintain the delegations in the countries informed and events or different knowledge materials that the ILO circulates. And we want to show you a couple of figures for you to have a sense of the European Commission as a partner for the ILO. So last year, the European Commission was the largest donor to ILO's technical development cooperation, with almost 60 million euros. If we can take a look at the next slide. So overall, the European Commission is the largest donor to development cooperation globally, and a large proportion of these fundings goes to the UN. And if we go to the last slide, but as you can see, although months have been very high on our last year approvals, we remain a small partner for the European Commission in terms of funding. So there is a lot of scope to further develop our cooperation. And I think that's pretty much from the information we wanted to share with you. And if you have any questions, not only today but also in the future, don't hesitate contacting Ola or myself. Will be available for you.
Very good. Thank you, Liliana. We still have 15 minutes, more or less, a bit less. Can you collect some questions or comments? We can.
It's here and again in Pretoria. I hope that I'm not trying to make sure that I dominate. I have a project proposal, concept note level that we developed last year. It was supposed to have been considered by SECO, which is the Free Development Regulation. Of course, they have mentioned that there are constraints in their budget, so they won't be able to get it. Is it possible if we can start engaging the EU delegation in South Africa and see if they can conceive funding a project of that, the ones that we are designing
Well, I think what we could do on particular cases, countries like this one, it would be a good idea to share with Audrey and myself, and we can try to see where this concept idea can be mapped and to see where could it fit to the EC's priorities, either regional, country level, or other.
This is exactly the same question that came out in the previous webinar, so we can see that this is a concern, and now you have Audrey and Liliana who are there to support you. Any other question? From the participants? Yes, please.
I have a question. Hi, this is Sophia from Dakar. Thank you very much for the presentation. My question is regarding the engagement with the EUD at country level. So you mentioned that yes, we should do this engagement and look for the opportunities in the programming cycle. And then we can see in the last slide you showed us that we do get a small share of funds when compared to other UN organizations. And my question is, how do you do this engagement when you are a non-resident agency in a one UN country? Because this is a question and this is a reality for most of our countries in the region.
Audrey, do you want to react on this?
Sure. This is a very tricky question, in fact, and I don't have a good answer. But I know that we're often, even at Brussels level, when we get, recently we had a training of EU delegation at which I was invited, and the colleagues from the delegation in Cape Verde indicated exactly that they are in good contact, but that covering Cape Verde from Dakar is like covering Cape Verde from Brussels. It's very tricky. It's very complicated. And on that, there's no good answer because the ILO cannot be present in all countries, and will not change our field structure. So this is complicated. Then, of course, easy answers: be part of the UN and try to reflect ILO's agenda within UN programs and within UN actions and initiatives. Try also to look at the delegation website so that you can really see what are their priorities, and when you can go on mission there, you can really have very specific and precise discussion with them. But this is difficult, and should invest more in making sure that we engage with them. On that, maybe Brussels and PARDEF should help further in defining the priorities of the countries that are not covered, because there you have time already to look at the countries you're covering, which is already great considering the workload you have. You certainly do not have necessarily the time to look at the delegation you're not covering. So maybe this is a point taken. Maybe we can follow up on that and try to facilitate the work, just by highlighting for you the priorities of the countries not covered. If they reflect ILO's, let's say, then we can invest. If they don't, then let's be present elsewhere, because frankly we cannot be everywhere. On the note, coming back to the previous question, I mean, whenever there is ongoing cooperation, for example, with SECO, and you see that maybe the donor may change its priorities or may not carry on financing, a good way also to start discussing with the EU is to interest them to the project while it's active, meaning inviting them to the last event, or if there is an evaluation, to invite them to the meeting where the evaluation is being discussed. Of course, if this represents a topic on which they are interested, but at least you should engage with them before you come to them just to ask for money. They will certainly appreciate that.
Any other questions? Any other question? Are there? Here. Any other question or any other contribution? Participants? No? Okay, we still have a few minutes. So before we close, I would like to ask Liliana and Audrey if you can just pick up a couple of messages that you think the participants should take away. What are the major messages that you would like them to go away with? And then we close them.
Start.
Or you are already there, so you
Okay.
can start if you like. And then Liliana can add on it.
Well, the situation of each country is specific, so it's difficult to give broad guidance like this. But what I know is that he likes to be involved, and just as I was saying, not only for the money. They hate being seen as the money co, and even though we know that they are great potential partners in terms of financing, we should really try to have more of a policy dialogue and try to shape a relationship in discussing strategies rather than just picking funds and projects with them. I'm sure the projects will then follow. I mean, we've seen that even at the Brussels level, it's more and more them coming to us, because we've really had this dialogue with them more at the policy level, and now they see the interest in working with the ILO. So that would be the first advice I give. Second advice is really to look at their policies. I mean, ILO, they frankly can care less about what is the ILO, if we are tripartite or not, what is the decent work country program. Frankly, they are not interested. They're really EU-minded and EU-centered, and what they want is partners that can fulfill their strategic objectives. So you don't look at their priorities in their website. If you don't try to translate the decent work country program into their own priorities, you will speak a language that they will want to listen to. So it's a little bit of, I'm not saying change your mind, change your mindset, or change your mandate, not at all. I'm saying we need to translate a little bit and to fine-tune our message to their needs, so that then after we can have tools to jointly fulfill our common objectives. So this would be the second recommendation. And the third one is whenever you get to an agreement or a discussion that becomes a little bit technical with them in terms of management mode and so on, get in touch with Parda and I, re-consult us and get us involved and get us to work, because it's easier if we get early in the process than later when things have already been decided and we end up knowing that at the end of the day we cannot collaborate under the scope that has been defined. So work with us, work with them, and we're there for you.
Okay, that was pretty clear. Thank you very much, Andre. Lilian, anything you'd like to add?
Just a quick point. I think it's also very important to maintain the dialogue quite often with the member states, or because they are also the ones that are going to be consulting and deciding on how the EC needs to with them together the funding for development cooperation. So in many cases, the ILO can also look how this funding is going to be implemented and ensure that labor components are correctly reflected, and also that our social partners are part of that discussion. And what I was saying is please keep us in the loop of any discussions you may have with the European delegation. Maybe we can give you tips or inform you of the different discussions that are ongoing at the Brussels level.
Okay. Thanks to both. We have 3 minutes. If someone has a comment.
How can you get emails of Audrey and Liana? Because I don't have them. Or you will share with us after this one?
Well, receive a link to the webinar with the presentation of whatever was said and the list of participants. But just to be quick, if Liliana and Audrey want to write your email in the chat, that would be good. So they already have it. And Anna and Audrey also said that they are available today. So if you want to write to them, they are open to your messages and go back to you with their answers. Also, please note that whatever material is relevant is going to be uploaded in the Development Cooperation platform, so you'll find it there. Okay. Thank you to you all for participating, for listening and contributing, and a special thank, of course, to our experts, to Liliana and Audrey, for sharing with us their knowledge and their wisdom and their experiences. Okay, so thank you very much. Yeah, I hope you can actually implement whatever you got from this webinar in your daily job. Thank you very much. I'm close. Thanks. See you soon. Thanks. Bye. Bye-bye. I don't